It's Saturday, December 2nd, and the war has started up again in Israel. Israel resumed its combat operations in Gaza after a 7-day truce with Hamas broke down. Israeli Defense Force said it was forced to resume combat operations because Hamas was violating the truce by firing rockets into Israeli territory. The fragile truce ends without all the hostages being released. Netanyahu's office said Hamas didn't respect the obligation to release today all the abducted women and launched rockets toward the citizens of Israel. His office said 137 people are still being held hostage in Gaza, including 117 men and 20 women, and 2 of those who are abducted are under the age of 18, and 10 of them are over 75. And he said, our government, the government of Israel, is committed to achieving its war aims, which was releasing all of the hostages and eliminating Hamas and ensuring that Gaza never again continues as a threat to Israelis. And there's some interesting things that were said about this situation. The Secretary General of the UN, Antonio Guterres, expressed his deep regret about the strikes resuming in Gaza, calling it a war on children. He went on to say that he deeply regretted the military operations have started again. And I still hope that it will be possible to renew the pause that was established. But there's no reasoning that he put in as to why the pause was ended. There was James Elder, a spokesperson for UNICEF, the UN Children's Fund, was very upset about the war on children. That's what he called it, a war on children. He said, we cannot see more children with wounds of war, with burns, with the shrapnel littering the body, with broken bones. Inaction by those with influences allowing the killing of children. This war is on children. Yes, the children are victims. But why are they victims? Who has set it up this way? Certainly not the Israelis. And then we have the U.S. Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, separately said that Israel needs to make further efforts to protect civilians in Gaza. Because as Israel has resumed its military campaign. Well, is Anthony Blinken blind and dumb? Hamas has set up this whole system to use the women, the children, the men, the civilians as protection. They are using those people as a barrier against the Israeli attack. It's not the Israelis who are killing these children and men and women. It's Hamas. Hamas who has set up the entire arena. I'll call it an arena. The tunnels that run through the entire country. In and out of people's houses. In the hospitals. In the schools. You want the Israeli military to protect all the civilians and the children and the women of Gaza when it's Hamas who is using them to protect themselves, starving them, taking supplies away from them? Why is Israel responsible for that? Israel is responding to a major attack. This attack and this defense has caused the world's anti-Semites to come out of the crack. And we're going to stand here and say Israel has to protect the children and the people of Gaza? The people of Gaza should be protected by Hamas. But Hamas uses them as shield. Hamas is the villain, the true villain in this thing. And why are all of these high-level diplomatic morons afraid to come out and say that? Hamas has to be criticized to the nth degree. They have to be held responsible for their action, for their putting all of their civilians, their population, in danger. And maybe one could argue that there was a reason for that. There's also something that is missing in this equation. It's called diplomacy. Why, if there was such a terrible situation in Gaza, did these people, the Hamas, the government, the leaders, why wasn't there a treaty, a sit-down? Why didn't they invite Israel to the table and discuss the problem? Try to straighten it out without killing people. But the real villain in this piece is anti-Semitism. And the real villains in this piece is Hamas and the entire group that is being run by Iran with the sole purpose of eradicating the Jewish race. And that's the critical element that everybody is overlooking in this path, in these events. And unfortunately, Israel has to take the blame for some of this disaster, because they had information over a year ago that this plan was in action. But they, in their superior thinking, felt that Hamas wasn't capable of creating an attack force. They felt that Hamas wasn't able to do the evil deeds that they're doing right now. So Israel has a fault that they have to look at. They have to watch out for this complacency that ran rampant through their government, that allowed them to ignore information that they had over a year ago. And they did a lot of stupid things on that border. They were moving armed forces from that particular area to the West Bank. So Israel, while they are the victims in this thing, they are not totally blameless for the events that took place, because they were asleep at the switch. Even though they got the wake-up call, they were asleep at the switch, and that's a disgrace for a country that is always on the edge, a country that many parts of the world want to see disappear, cannot afford any complacency. They must be on guard 100% of the time. It's a great country. They've done great things for the rest of the world. But this current government screwed up, and we have to understand that, and they have to admit that. They probably won't admit it openly, but they have to admit it to themselves, and they have to work very hard after they get this mess cleaned up to never ever let anything like this slip through the cracks again. So that's it for this morning. Have a great day. Bye.